Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by. This is take two. There was a little bit of a technological glitch on take one, so here we are. And I'm just kind of gathering myself. I was mid-sentence and the stream cut itself off. So, what is life all about? What are we doing here? Why are we doing what we're doing? Personally, I've come up with what I consider to be a very simple answer. I'm here seeking to align myself with a higher power, which I call God or love or life itself, existence itself. I have a utterly convinced that there's a reality, a principle, a ground of being that's good. And I see it as the only reason I'm here on this earth is to align myself with that goodness, with love, with life, and to act in harmony with it. And so as I go through my day, I try and organize and structure everything I do around that one idea. Bruno Groening, in his own words, I've come to this conclusion through studying Bruno's teachings. Bruno himself said to be connected to God, that is everything. And he also said, if you want to succeed, follow God. And so the way I expressed it is just my own way of saying what I believe the exact same thing that Bruno calls us to, calls everyone to. And really, you can see this idea in every religion. This idea that there is a higher power or principle or creator, and that the purpose of life is to, whether you say, be obedient to it, to live in harmony with it, to seek to know its will and do its will, to follow its laws, whether those laws be very specific instructions or whether those laws be principles, but to align ourselves with something greater than ourselves, and then to seek to give expression. A very simple way to say it is to connect to the good and do the good. As long as we say good with a capital G, because that's one of the words Bruno Groening used to describe God, the good. So, one of the ways that Bruno taught people how to align themselves with the good is this simple technique called Einstellen in German. And that's one of the meanings of Einstellen, to align, to tune in. So let's do so now. Please sit with legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back not slouched over, not too stiff, just a relaxed, upright position. And then close your eyes. Handing over all burdens, all worries, all troubles, any illness to a higher power, whether that be a particular spiritual helper such as Jesus or Bruno or the Buddha, someone who you absolutely trust, whether that be to your own idea of God. And if you don't have an idea of a higher power, then please just hand your burdens and worries over to life itself. What we're doing in doing that, we're asking for help with all of these things. It's an act of humility. And then think of something that makes you happy. And begin to observe your body, taking in the good. Noticing what you feel, having the intention, the will to absorb healing life energy. Noticing what you feel. Keep coming back to observing the body. Entrusting ourselves and our lives to a higher power. So, a warm welcome to everyone who's joining in live, and thank you to everyone watching this video. Hey, Melanie. Hmm. So, so it's a very popular spiritual teaching today to say that our true nature, and that our true self, or that we are inherently divine, or that there's something pure inside of us. And Bruno Groening agreed with that. Not so much agreed, Bruno Groening taught almost the exact same thing. And, and what Bruno Groening added to that is just because, um, just because a part of God lives within inside of us, that doesn't mean we can be careless and reckless. And some people take this teaching of, oh, well, and some people even go so far as to say, well, I am God. And then from there, like, I can do whatever I want. I'm God. It can get very messy very quickly. So Bruno Groening pointed out that God lives inside of us. And here's what he had to say. A human being is and remains divine. Is never the devil's, never Satan's. A human being is never evil, but he can be afflicted by evil if he leaves God, if he neglects himself. Then evil grabs him and he has to serve evil. It is not the human being. It's not human beings who do evil, but evil itself. We cannot expect anything good from evil, but nothing evil from God either. So that's from Wisdom of Life, Volume 1, page 22. And so, first and foremost, Bruno Groening affirms our inherent goodness, our inherent divinity. That's why I start off a lot of these broadcasts by saying, hello, divine creations. Hello, divine marvels. Hello, children of God. Because, according to Bruno Groening, and you find this idea cross-cultural, that they're inside of us. There is something divine. At our core, we are good. So let's take a few moments and reflect on this, observing our bodies, reflecting on our inherent divinity, our inherent goodness. that that's what's at the core, and not just for us, but for every human being. Taking in the good, observing our body, reflecting on this idea of inherent divinity inside us and all people. Next, he said, a human being is never evil, but he can be afflicted by evil. He said, and he can be made to serve evil. So the way I think of it is that, we're like this diamond that cannot be scratched, that cannot be shattered, this inherently sacred, holy diamond. However, all sorts of gunk can be laid over that diamond and can cover up the diamond and can, the diamond's job, the diamond ungunked without gunk is just going to shine and do beautiful things. But once the evil or gunk, or as Bruno would sometimes say, the filth starts to obscure it, then the evil makes the diamond do all sorts of horrific things. Bruno said we literally become a servant of evil, a servant of Satan, when we've taken on evil. It doesn't corrupt the diamond, but it covers it up and it leads it down a very unfun road. How does this happen? Well, here's what Bruno Groening said. But he, a human being, can be afflicted by evil if he leaves God, if he neglects himself. So, in essence, Bruno Groening said, in every moment we are guided. The question is, are we guided by the good or what's not good? And that if we leave the good, then over time we become more and more guided by what's not good. And it takes us on a very, very icky, unfun path. You can liken it to like a billionaire who gets kidnapped. Now his money is safe in the bank, but what kidnapped and dragged around and all sorts of horrible things can happen, and then he becomes I don't know if this is going to work. I'm making this metaphor up on the. And then after a certain time, he forgets that he has all this money, and he becomes like the people who kidnapped him. He becomes a criminal and starts abusing and harming other people, forgetting that he has this wealth, and that he doesn't have to live like that. So him taking, this whole sequence of events, it hasn't affected his money in the bank. It's still there. But what an unfun journey. And in that process, he starts to behave just like those who harmed him. He becomes like them. Not becomes, he behaves like. He behaves that way. He lives that way. Money's still in the bank. According to Bruno Groening, same us. We're children of God. As the Bible said, we're made in the image and likeness of God. And once that diamond like, beautiful, pure soul begins to get covered by evil, takes us on an unfun journey to the point where we start to do evil. It's as if the evil acts through us. So let's sit with all this and reflect, observing the body, taking in the good, very firmly deciding, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with evil anymore. I want to follow God, the good. I want to uncover this muck, and I want to be the diamond I am. I want to be that which God made me to be. As Christ said, the light of the world. Observing the body, taking in the good, noticing what you feel, firmly determining and wanting to be free of everything not good. So Bruno said, then evil grabs him, and he has to serve evil. Is not the human being who do evil, but evil itself. So okay, let's revise my analogy a little bit. There's this very um, good, rich person, lots of money in the bank, and a really just an amazing, giving, loving person. And he gets kidnapped, and um, and he steps away from God. He steps away from the good, and he gets kidnapped, and he's told all these untrue things like you're a bad person, this, that. And he starts to believe these things, and then he starts to behave that way. So it's his inner goodness is remained intact, and his money in the bank is safe and sound. But these lies are now literally driving his life, almost as if he's been brainwashed. Underneath it, his goodness is there. Off in the distance, money still in the bank. I don't know if this metaphor is working or not. Maybe it's working a little bit. But this can help us have compassion for ourselves and for others when we do something wrong. It's actually not the person. It's literally this divine soul that's been kidnapped and taken through the ringer and is now just, acting out this kind of program. It's not the person. It's not the soul. Now, what the person did do wrong is stepped away from God, stepped away from the good, and didn't discern. The main way Bruno Groening said evil gets at us is through negative thinking. It said basically a person believed some untrue things. That's how evil creeps in. So the solution is to decide that we're sick and tired of everything not good, firmly separate ourselves from it, and make a decision to become, as Bruno said, obedient to God, to follow God, to seek the good, to want the good, and to apply a few simple principles, one of them being taking in this life energy, having faith, watching our thoughts. And if we've gone down too far down the road of the negative path, recognizing that we need a spiritual helper. Bruno Groening said that he was one such helper and made no claim to be the only spiritual helper. As you can see, I have a little meditation shrine behind me, and I have a couple of my favorite helpers on there, along with Bruno Groening. So let's spend a few minutes in silence, taking in this good energy. If we haven't already made that decision, contemplating, deciding to follow the good. Observing the body. What comes to me to sum up this part of Bruno's teaching is that the human being, that the soul cannot be corrupted, but it can be afflicted. It can be imprisoned. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. There was a technical glitch earlier today, so my apologies for that. And thanks to everyone who came back, and very warm welcome to everyone who's watching a recording of this. And if you'd like more information about Bruno Groening or these teachings, you can see my website, www.thehealingstream.org. You're welcome, Heather. Thank you, Melanie. So let's align ourselves with the good today. Let's decide, done with evil, yuck. Let's have forgiveness for ourselves and others, recognizing that it wasn't the person, that they were literally imprisoned or hypnotized or brainwashed, taken over, abducted. And that doesn't mean, that we don't set boundaries or we don't. It's not that at all. But there's no need for us to get angry at ourselves or others. It's in a sense they have a kind of spiritual sickness. The spiritual sickness mean they're disconnected from the spirit. that's pure. Gerard Odo, you're welcome. Thank you so much for joining in. Take care, dear ones. Have a beautiful day. Much love.